start. But before we start, I just want to bring to your attention something very interesting. You may know that the Institute has about 110 CPD events in a year. These 110 CPD events, some are held at the branches at very low cost. Some are held in Mombasa, commonly because of the capacity, and we call them residential, like this one. Besides this, we have some other 11 events in Mombasa, carrying between 300, and this is the largest, which has about 1,700 delegates. We also have international events. All along we've had two, where we have executive seminar. Then we added another one last year, but one called the C-Suite Seminar. The C-Suite Seminar targets senior management and the CEO level. Executive Seminar targets CEO and the board. This year's C-Suite Seminar shall be going to Singapore. Venue well chosen because of your hand is sitting somewhere at the secretariat desk. He'll be able to give you more information. If you want invitation letter, if you want any information about the C-Suite, which shall take place in Singapore between 27th of September and 1st of October, he'll be able to assist you much. Make a point during break time to go and ask for more information. Give your contacts there if you want invitation. If you know someone who'd like to attend, your boss, your colleague, your friends, this is the time you can register for that. The same round, you're going to close it very early, close the booking. On the same desk, you also ask about executive. It's not that you're going to have our speakers from Kenya to go and tell you what you know. We try to customize the content, the theme, and everything to where you are going. So when you come back to the country, you come with wealth of information. You know what you borrowed from there that can assist our country to go to the next level. And that is between 5th and 7th of October. This is because we have our delegates, we have our members all over the world. So where we have more members, we actually hold chapter events. If you have a friend in the UK, you have a colleague who is transferring to UK and would like to attend our events, tell them that we have a chapter event there in October. Between 7th and 9th of July, in Livingstone, Zambia, we shall have Continental Board Accountability Seminar, the inaugural. Again, this is up for booking. If you go to our website, www.icpak.com, you'll get this information and you're able to book. If you have any inquiries, get in touch with CPA Neba Tavutswa, CPA Makawa Wanjala, or myself, Tom Nyagare, or just write an email to memberservices@icpak.com, and we shall be able to give you enough information about this event. So at this point, I think we are ready to go. And we are going to start our afternoon session. Again, a bit of modification to the afternoon session. Instead of having the first speaker speak, then we have question and answers. We are going to combine those sessions such that the first speaker will deliver the content. Then the next one will follow immediately after. Then we shall combine questions and answer session. Then afterwards, you'll hear about Africa Congress of Accountants. the event that is being organized for for accountants in Africa, and that shall come from Simon Oola CPA of ICPAK. He's sitting in front here. He'll do that right after we finish the two combined sessions. At this point, I want you to join me in welcoming the session chair, CPA Sam Alala, who is one of our council members, as he takes over the session.
Good afternoon, members. I hope you enjoyed your lunch and you are ready for the afternoon session, which will be quite interesting. We have very experienced speakers for this afternoon, and I believe none of us will make prayers. So if you notice that the person next to you took some Piriton over lunch hour, please tap him. We have a lost and found phone here, Galaxy S5. Kindly, if it is yours, pass by and pick it. We also have a token for Stanchart that was found left behind. Kindly pass by and pick them. As we start, I'll tell you a story of a boy who went to school, and the first week the English teacher didn't attend the class. The second week the English teacher came and he asked him a question that what do you say, how do you explain when you're going home? So he said, teacher, you say, I have went home. So the teacher told him, no, it's I have gone home. The second week, he repeated the same mistake. And the teacher asked him, Johnny, I thought I explained to you. You say, I have gone home. So for today, I'm going to punish you. You are going to write 100 times, I have gone home. And when you finish, bring it to my desk. And he was the only student left in class. So at the end of the day, he finished and handed over the assignment. I'll give you the response at the end, the answer to the question and the assignment that he was given. This afternoon, we have our speaker, FCPA Ndungu Gadinji, very experienced. I'm actually humbled to introduce him this afternoon to take us through the topic, Professional Accountancy Journey in Kenya. FCPA Gadinji is a fellow of ICAW, ICPAK, and ACCA. You have his credentials before you, so I'll just summarize because of time. He is a board member of IFAK and committee member for the last 20 years. He's a former ICPAK chair between 1987 and 89. He is a former chair of National Nairobi Stock Exchange, which is currently Nairobi Securities Exchange, from 2004 to 2005. He's a founder, secretary, and chair of ICEA from 1992 to 2006. He's a founder, CEO, and president of EXAFA. He is also a member of ISA from 1989 to 2007. He's also a Development Nations member. First, he was a task force member in 2002 and 2003, and chair for 6 years. He was also a committee member and founder of the same. FCPA Gadinji is a lawyer by profession and an accountant. He has a Bachelor of Law and an accountant profession. We are honored to have him today to take us through the topic, Professional Accountancy Journey in Kenya. Can we put our hands together for him? Welcome so much, FCPA.
Thank you, Mr. Okello, the MC. I have just been informed by the organizers that one of our CPAs has passed away. This particular CPA has some significance with regard to the development of our profession in Kenya, because he was the Accountant General when ICPAK was effectively under formation and when the Act was eventually passed. Therefore, with your permission, could I ask you all to be upstanding? And let's observe a moment's silence for former CPA Pastor Dennis, who has just passed away. Thank you very much. You may be seated. Now, I know what time of day it is, and despite what the MC has said, I'm conscious of the fact that we passed a new constitution which guarantees everybody their liberties, and one of those is the pursuit of happiness. And if at this time of day your idea of happiness is to sit or slouch or sink into your chair and move on to dreamland, I shall not be offended. The only thing I would request of you is that if you're one of those people who, when you're doing that, you also like to make music, do so nicely and in tune. Let me thank the organizers of this meeting for asking me to come and talk to you. The subject is a bit baffling because it says a professional accountancy journey in Kenya, and mine has taken me all over the world. But I don't mind those kind of challenges, because we are here in Mombasa, where they have their own vision 2035, I'm told. I'm not quite sure whether that means vision 2030 plus 5 years, or whether it will take them 5 years more than anyone else to achieve vision 2030. I leave that to you to decide. Now, I was told to point it over there and it will move, and it doesn't move. Ah, there you are. It is working. Now, a journey through Kenya. Before you can begin any journey, you have to be there. And whether you are there or not is actually not up to you. It's up to somebody else. And I would like to thank my mother particularly for ensuring that I was when I became. I'm not quite sure when that was. We were not as digital as we are now. You kind of estimated when you were born, and as far as I'm concerned, I know only one thing, that the Kikuyus marked time by a big famine that took place in 1943, which is called the cassava famine. in Kikuyu, Ngaraguya, Mianga. So you can tell whether you are before that or you are after that, and basically that gives you a kind of ballpark figure about where you were born. So I am slightly behind or after that, except that my mother couldn't have been very, very hungry, because when I was born, I was 9 pounds in weight, I am told, at the Nyeri Native Hospital. Now, there was no law that said you must attend school when I was born. The choice was between being a Hajj boy or schoolboy. I was the firstborn, and normally my priority should have been looking after my, not father's actually, my grandfather's goats. And therefore I have my parents to thank for sending their firstborn child to school. Actually, they were so eager that when I was sent to school, the teachers, who included my uncle, sent me right back home, saying he is not old enough to come to school. I agreed with them, because you had to wear shorts when going to school, and I didn't even know how to do that. We had no uniforms, and my mode of attire was a shirt that flew freely in the wind, that flows over the Nyandarua Mountains. But nevertheless, to school I went, and among my schoolmates were ladies that would sneak out from now and then to go and suckle their babies. There was no age limit. My school was called Miagayoini. It still exists to this. It was a timber structure, just one hall that was subdivided by mikekas. That was a school. Standard 1 came in the morning, in the afternoon. Standard 2 would come in the morning in one section of that hall. Standard 3 would be in the other section, and Standard 4 would be at one end. And then on Friday, everything would be torn down, and the whole hall became a church for Sunday. That's how we started school. This language I'm now speaking to you in, I first heard about it when I was in Standard 4. Before then, we learned in Kiswahili, Masomo Mapya, or something else. I have told part of this story before. So if you find I'm repeating myself, you will understand that it's sometimes difficult to know what I said and what I didn't. When I went to school, Kenya also started agitating for independence. And those early 50s years, or probably the worst that anyone would want to have gone through. And while the men that came back from the Second World War, my father included, decided to go fighting for land and whatever else, life nevertheless had to continue. And the way it continued for some of us is that we were villagized, as you know. We were escorted to school every day by armed guards. That is for those who could afford to go to school. As I said, it wasn't compulsory. And for those like me whose parents were detained, you became your own boss and did what you wanted. And then after 4 years, with your stuttering of English, you sat a national exam called the Common Entrance Exam, which determines whether you proceeded to intermediate school or not. But perhaps what I should be saying at this particular point is that I am not sure that I will be the one talking to you about this today. The person perhaps that we should have here is somebody called John Mwangi. A lot of you know him as Mwangi Geko maybe, or Panobel has Mwangi, that Mwangi. Because in the midst of all this crisis, and whatever else was happening, miraculously, he managed to get himself to Scotland. I don't know how. I suspect maybe he was assisted by some Scottish missionaries, because the Scots are not that fond of the English either. But he managed to go there and qualify as a chartered accountant in 1959. And to me, that has to have been something impossible to imagine or do. But he did it. Unfortunately, he has long departed from us and therefore is not here to talk to you. And because I'm the one who followed him many years later, I guess that job falls on me. But I'm sure there are older accountants than me. I would like to believe so anyway. But perhaps I'm the only one with enough teeth left to be able to speak to you in an understandable manner. And so I left primary school and went to intermediate school. And a lot of things were happening. Gold Coast became independent. What our parents were fighting for became a reality. We got some kind of franchise in terms of elections, and people like Dr. Kiano got into parliament. The Russians decided that they was, or proved or demonstrated they were superior to the Americans by launching Sputnik. And then there was another exam, this time after 8 years, called the Kenya African Preliminary Examination, which we had to go through. Now, our choices of whatever it is we wanted to do was so unclear, really. I remember clearly, you had to indicate what career you wanted to follow, because 99% of the class would not go on with education. And so everybody has to choose teaching. After all, those who have been Kagumo at the time will know him. To be able to pay my way through school, he gave me work during the holidays. That means I didn't have holidays, unless you call work holiday.